But you literally just gave us a step-by-step example. We're 10 minutes into this episode. You gave us a step-by-step example or a path, a strategy of exactly how to know how much money we need to be successful.
Yeah.
Am I missing something, or is it really that easy? Rich, I have one question for you today. How much money do I need to make before I'm considered successful?
Wow. We just jumped right into it today. I love that. And I love that question. That's a great question. So answer it.
Well, I don't know the answer. That's why I asked you.
Think about it. How much money do you need to make before you feel successful?
Did you guys plan this? David, you and Rich, did you plan this? Okay, all right.
We're putting you on the spot. You'll see why I'm asking.
How much money do I need to make before I'm considered successful? I would say, I don't know, because it feels like when I was 16, I needed to make,
Let me ask you this.
a certain amount. Okay.
When you were 16 and you made $5,000 that year,
Yep. It was like
did you feel
7.
successful?
Yeah. I actually did, because before that, I was raking leaves, making, a couple $100 a winter,
Okay.
or a fall, and,
Okay.
doing raking leaves and shoveling and all that stuff. So
All right.
yeah, it felt like, wow, I'm making it. Now I've got $5,000, this year, or 9,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah. So it's individual. It's individual. What, you have to ask yourself, first of all, what is success? Is success what you have in your bank account? Or is success living the lifestyle you want to live? Success a status? So how much money do you need to be successful depends on what your definition of success is. That's the broad answer, so I know we want to break that down.
Success. What I feel like people say, like, I want to know on this show, I want to know what some of these words actually mean.
Mm-hmm.
We just talked about relationships in the previous episode, and we actually broke down some key things and things I'd never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
So what success, it's so broad. But what does it actually mean? You take the word and you look at it and you're like, I don't get it. What is the word success actually trying to tell me?
It's a good question. What is it trying to tell you? We're doing some coaching now. Okay. And see, that's my point. And that's what I do in coaching, is because somebody will come to me, all right, and they'll feel like a failure. Like they're feeling like they're a failure.
Sure.
And then they'll tell me what's going on in their life. And I'm saying, do you realize that your income, you're making more than 90% of the population in America, and you consider yourself a failure? So that happens so often, and it's how people define success, and that's a great question. But you have to know what success means to you. You just have to identify that.
So it's custom. Success is custom.
It's typically not just a number.
So it's a custom tailored thing, and that's why there's not really a definition of success.
Right. And here's something else. We'll go back to money just for a minute. I just read this article. It is amazing how many former NBA players who signed a contract for more than $10 million are bankrupt today.
Wow.
I think what happens is there's not an understanding of what true success is. And so and here was one of the big deals with that, and is that when you sign a contract for that much money, you don't get nearly that much money. Okay, so you may think you just made $10 million, but after taxes and all of that, it's probably not even half that.
Yep.
Okay. So that the reason I say that is because a money number might not determine all of that success. And in a lot of businesses, isn't the purpose of the business to show loss or nonprofit?
Yep.
So now you're not getting zapped with taxes. You've opened up a can of worms, but there's a lot of ways to go with this.
Question: who should determine my definite, like who should I be looking to for success benchmark? Because I oftentimes feel like we actually just bought a house, and now I look at my neighbor's yard. Their yard sometimes looks better than my yard. So I'm like, well, their yard's successful. My yard's not successful. Like, who should I even look for, and who should I avoid? Like, whose opinion should I look for to be successful, and compare because there's so much out there. There's so many definitions of success. So whose definition should I look to? Like, what's the strategy? Because I just want a strategy.
Okay. Here's the coaching strategy. All right. Right with that question, I'm going to bring you right back to values. So now we're going to sit down. We're going to talk. What do you value? Okay. So and I don't believe there's anything wrong with valuing money, because money is a great tool to help you live a great lifestyle and to help you accomplish a lot of things. But are there other things besides money? So if success is only money, okay. But what else do you value? Do you value your family? Do you value time? Do you value relationships? Do you value friendships? Once you begin to get a value system, then you can determine success.
So money could help me with my values, though.
Definitely.
So it's kind of like,
money could be a value.
Yeah.
It actually is one of mine.
Yeah. One of the 5.
It is one of the 5. And it's one of my personal values because I believe that it's a tool. Okay? It's a tool.
So success is based on what you value. It's not based on what somebody else tells you should value. It's based on what you actually value. So next question, how do I know what I actually value?
That requires some work. That requires some soul searching. It's not real hard, but it's just sitting down and thinking about what are the things that I wouldn't want to live without. Even if I had all of this money, I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, for example, we probably talked about this a little bit, but not to this degree in one of our podcasts. If you had all of this money, but you didn't have your health,
Yep.
would you trade all that money for health? And I know a ton of people that would say yes in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Yeah. If I could have health, yeah, I don't need this.
It's kind of like, I'm thinking back to the scenario. Have you ever heard that like riddle where, and it's not really a riddle, but it's like a question. And they say like, if you were stranded on a deserted island and you could only have, one source of entertainment, one source of food, and one person with you, who would that be? Could that simple little game help me discover what I actually value?
Yeah. If I go into a store sometime looking for something and there's so many options, it's not the best. I start like, I can easily go into a store, traveling, and there's only 3 or 4 options. I can make that decision. So how can you narrow down what's really, really important to you? Start with a longer list, narrow it down, and come to what are your core values. And once you begin to live out of your core values, then you'll know how much money you need to be successful.
Yeah. Because what if one person's core value is being able to explore the country, and they want to buy a van that they can live in, and they just want them, their significant other, and their dog with them. And to get there, they need to make, at least $50,000 a year total. That could be their dollar amount for their success that they're looking for. What if somebody has a vision to create jobs and really, they want to see the town that they grew up in really start thriving and really start booming and growing, they might need hundreds of millions of dollars to reach their goal. So you just literally gave us an actual strategy of how to figure out how much money I need to be successful. I didn't think you were going to answer it. I thought it was going to be abstract and broad, but you literally just gave us a step-by-step example. We're 10 minutes into this episode. You gave us a step-by-step example or a path, a strategy of exactly how to know how much money we need to be successful.
Yeah.
Am I missing something, or is it really that easy?
I think it is, but it takes some work too. And then you can get distracted because of what you said earlier. You asked a question, I never answered it. You said, who do I look to or who don't I look to in terms of success? Yeah. So once you start going down that path, then you can veer away from your values and you can start to take on somebody else's values. Just because you flip through Instagram and you see guys driving Lamborghinis and other stuff, 10Xing and all of this kind of stuff. Okay, is that really what you want? Is that really your value? Or are you just seeing something appealing that momentarily looks like it might be for you? So who are you going to model? Who are you going to follow? Not saying any of that's wrong. Once again, I'm all for wealth. I believe it. I believe in wealth. I believe that you can really help a lot of people with your wealth. I don't believe wealth should purposely just be for filling my barns over and over again. I think once your barn's filled, go fill somebody else's barn. But that's just my own personal philosophy, all right? I'm not trying to push that on anybody. But when it comes to this question of success, you got to know what you value till you can evaluate whether you're successful. For example, school teachers are incredibly important, and they've been incredibly influential in my life, right? School teachers don't make a lot of money. But if you go to a school teacher who's been teaching a long period of time, what they'll tell you is they're not doing it for the money.
Right.
They're doing it because it's an inner calling. It's something they feel good about. What do they feel? They feel successful. My 5th grade teacher influenced my life significantly. My 7th grade basketball coach influenced me significantly. My high school football coach influenced me significantly. None of them were millionaires. None of them were millionaires, but they influenced me greatly. I would say they are some of the most successful people in my life.
Wow.
My mom, my dad, other people, most successful people in my life. I don't look at an NBA player, an NFL player, and I love sports and go, they're the most successful people in the world. I don't. Why? Probably because I value something different. I value investment into other people's lives. I value intrinsic things that are deeper than just money, success, and fame. And by the way, I am not putting those things down. I think that's great. But it's not necessarily my highest value. So what do you value determines what you think is going to be successful. And whatever that is, then that's my 5th grade school teacher just needed to make the salary of a school teacher for her to be successful.
I feel like another thing that people look to as a measure of success that's not money is how much influence do they have? How many people listen to them, or how many people follow them, or how many people hear their voice every time they have something to say. And I feel like that's another measure of success societally. I don't know if it's necessarily, I think it does have some merit, but I also don't think it's like the standard. But I feel like a lot of doctrines are now made out of, well, this person has a platform, so what they said must be true. They're clearly successful because all these people follow them. Question: does having a lot of people following you and your opinions and believing you, is that a form of success? Does that make you successful?
Good question. Let me answer it this way, is that if there are people that are following you, and a lot of people that are following you, I look at it like this. I don't look at it as success. I look at it as responsibility. I have now a responsibility. How am I directing them? How am I guiding them? All right. So that may be just my value system, is saying, if God gives you a following, you better be doggone responsible for that.
Yeah.
You need to be responsible for that, because that's a big thing right there, having people follow you.
Okay. So it could be a mark that something somewhere happened that was successful in some way that caused people to want to follow you.
Not everybody that has something to say is a leader. Okay. So I would differentiate and say, I don't think people that have a big following necessarily are successful, but I think people that are leaders that have a following probably have a responsibility to lead in that way.
So there's some real strategies that we can take away from this episode. We can actually know how much money we need to be successful, but the question was kind of flipped. We have to start by looking at, what do we actually value? What do we value? And then we can make a list of, we can literally write down all these things and say, this is what I value. And if I couldn't, I'm going to pick 5 because it's 5 ideas. If I could only have 5 things in my life, maybe a house, a relationship, this person, this TV show to watch, this food to eat, whatever. Write down those 5 things that you value and you couldn't live without. That's a really good place to start. And you're like, well, how much money does it take to fund those things that I value?
Yeah.
And you could add values later in life as you go on.
Yeah.
And you could stack up, and then you're like, okay, I want to add this value, but that's going to cost this much.
Yeah. Look at it this way. What if you value living in warm climate? And you could sit down and say, okay, I'm living in cold climate. I want to live in warm climate. So I'm going to have to transition. What's that going to cost to transition? What type of income am I going to have? Yeah, exactly. So you look at your values. I mean, if you value having a family and children, kids cost money. Okay. So what's that going to take?
Yeah.
What are you and your significant other going to have to come to an agreement on?
Yep. So you're like, success it's not a destination. It's like a checkpoint. Success, all right, next. Success, next. Success, next. I feel like a lot of times people are like, they're headed, they want to head towards success, but they never actually hit it. They think. But the way you're opening my eyes, it's like, no. You're not never hitting it. You're constantly hitting it.
If you are living out of your values. Because that's the only way to measure it. Because if you try to measure it in a number, let's say, oh, this is a successful number to make. I remember when, people used to, the big thing is if I could just make 6 figures. Talk to somebody who's made 6 figures and see if they're satisfied with that. It doesn't happen. They're like, no. Yeah, I would. So but if you're living out of your values, then it will not constantly be that pursuit and that, because you're pursuing something different. You're pursuing something much different. I've got a really good friend who owns a gym, and I don't know how much money he makes on it. I don't know that, but I know to him that's not important. What's important to him is health and fitness, and offering that health and fitness to other people. So if he only went by what could this gym produce for me in terms of income, he might be disappointed. He might even look at himself and go, I'm not a success. But because he looks at it as I'm offering health and fitness to other people, the dude is majorly successful.
And that's because that's what he values.
That's what he values.
And he's helping other people who value the same thing get it.
Yeah.
And this has been another episode of 5 Ideas. Find out what you value, find out how much that costs, and we'll see you on the next episode of 5 Ideas. Stay successful.